You may have seen this video by Malcolm Sandrita, which was voted most popular on social media. A college professor enters a classroom lugging a tote with mismatched coffee cups, plastic, glass, ceramic, enough for every student. Most were decorated in a distinctive way, with a few that were left unadorned. The students were invited to have a cup of coffee before the lecture began, which they did with expressions of gratitude. When each student was settled at their seat, only a few simple cups remained on the buffet, and the teacher called their attention to the cups that had been left over. "Before we start," he said, "look at the mug in your hand. Have you noticed that only the plainest coffee cups remain unused? While you came for the coffee, each one of you chose a cup that was beautiful too. You chose the cup for its appearance, not because it would make the coffee taste better." The professor went on, "Life is much the same. The cup is just a tool. It could be a job title, money, looks. What matters is the coffee." And if there is a moral to this story, it is don't be distracted by the cup when what you want is what it holds. It shouldn't surprise you that there is a Hebrew saying which was coined some 2,000 years ago expressing the very same concept. Al tistakel b'kankan, ela b'ma sheyesh bo. Look not at the vessel, but at what it contains. And the sages go on to explain there can be new containers that are filled with old precious wine, and old containers that do not even contain new wine. Isn't that what the professor was really teaching? Don't make a judgment based on externalities. We might say, don't judge a book by its cover. Long before social media, our sages were doing their best to convey enduring ethical principles which are essential to shaping a moral life personally and in society. Each year we focus on them in these weeks between Passover and Shavuot so that we can prepare ourselves to receive the Torah anew on the holiday of Shavuot. And our reading today asked us to consider 4 questions. Who is wise? Who is mighty? Who is rich? Who is honored? These questions form the foundation of one's character and, by extension, our community. This morning, let's focus on wisdom. First, we need to ask ourselves how we understand wisdom. As people of the book, ours is a culture that reveres learning and knowledge. Our weekly Shabbat practice is to read and expound upon Torah's teachings, as Alexander did so beautifully. The words of Torah do not change, but through our exposure to new people and new ideas, we do. And when the sages asked, "Who is wise?" they answered in this way, "One who learns from every person." And in truth, we can have a transformative exchange with a child, a student, a stranger, an elder, a scientist, and even by studying the wisdom of earlier scholars, because their insights help shape our own. And that is why our sages assert that every person has something to teach another. And when we bring this principle into our larger society, we see that we have a responsibility to continue to make knowledge possible and accessible to all. When Dr. Carla D. Hayden was appointed the 14th Librarian of Congress in 2016, she called the library collection at her hand a treasure chest. In her role, she was the steward of a national collection, which was home to millions of items, with collections of books on foreign languages and world history, as well as music, films, and newspapers. It serves as the research arm of Congress, and you may not know this, but it's open to the public. It's inclusive, she asserted. It can be part of everyone's story. She said, I believe in what libraries can be for a civilized society and a country that is open to all. As Librarian of Congress, her professional role was the answer to the sage's question, who is rich? Rich in knowledge. That Dr. Hayden was recently dismissed from her position as guardian of our nation's repository of history and culture is a threat to us all, because the collection she has been so carefully curating and guarding is now vulnerable. On a more local level, library book bans are at an all-time high, with a specific focus on removing anything that celebrates our diverse society. Whatever restricts knowledge only impairs it. Think back to how wonderful it was to come upon a title which introduced you to a topic that was entirely outside of your lived personal experience. Now imagine if that book was kept behind the counter, where a reader had to ask for it, but you didn't even know what to ask for. Like Alice in Wonderland, well, she is asked if she would like more tea, and she responds, but I can't have more if I haven't had anything yet. In the last few months, due to an order from the Pentagon, the libraries at West Point and the Naval Academy have also been required to remove almost 400 titles. Many instructors wonder how to prepare students for their future, when they will be called on in leadership roles to meet and engage with others who are different than they are. We may well be dismayed at how banning books limits academic freedom, but another equally important question is, how does curtailing their access help expand their knowledge? Where is the wisdom in that? When a tenured West Point professor was not permitted to use a book written by Alice Walker as part of her curriculum, which had been specifically chosen for the way it encourages readers to consider voices that are missing from the American story, after much consideration, she decided she could not continue teaching at the academy, and so she devoted a portion of her last class in explaining to the cadets why she had refused to find a substitute for Ms. Walker's essay and why she felt she had to leave West Point. But the story doesn't end there. A few days later, a cadet sent her an email thanking her for her courage. He wrote that it was the first time he had ever seen someone stand up for something that directly cost them. We need not ask, who is mighty? Because her courage is a lesson to us all, reminding us of the urgent need to stand up for what we believe in. And finally, we should ask who is honored. Earlier this week, the Stryker Center welcomed the author Judy Blume, who is beloved for her honest portrayal of teen relationships. Over the course of 50 years, her books have been and continue to be cherished by teens worldwide as they grapple with coming of age. In a clear and sensitive way, Judy Blume offers the reader information in a way that their parents and society did not. Days ago, her overflow audience primarily consisted of adults who came to honor her for the impact that she had had on them a generation ago when they were teens trying to sort things out. Years later, the wisdom and support she provided through her writing is still available for anyone who chooses to read her work. This is the power of a book, of information, of access. This is wisdom for all ages. Under the banner of liberty and justice for all, may we exercise our wisdom to stand up for what we believe and to protect access to knowledge, so all will have the right not to judge a book by its cover. So may it be.